Deep inside all of us, there hides an inquisitive traveler. Hello, my name is Kenneth, and this is our story. Last year, my dad gave me the opportunity to plan a road trip. I was to find places of interest en route, and I had to book backpacker accommodations for 3 nights. The first part of our trip took us from Johannesburg to Cape Town on the overnight train, the Mossel. We arrived in Cape Town after a good night's rest and made our way down to the coast to Simonstown. Of course, Table Mountain was on the plan for later that day, and having seen the length of the queue for the cable car, we decided to head north. North to Franschhoek, and a quick stop off at a wine estate called Allée Bleu. This estate has a quaint feel about it. It is nested among the blue gum trees on the outskirts of town. I was allowed to taste some of the white wine, and as my father was the driver, I had to tell him what I thought. I must have done a great job because he bought a bottle or two. Time was unfortunately not on our side, and it was back to the coast we went. Gordon's Bay was the starting point as we headed along the coast in the direction of Mossel Bay. There was one rule. We were not allowed to use any of the main roads, and we had to stay as close to the coast as possible. Pringle Bay was the far left point of the Cape Town Bay, and from here we followed the road to our first overnight stop in Fisher's Haven. It was up early the next morning as we planned to stop in Hermanus. Place of the Whale Watchers was one of the important stops on our trip, with breakfast at the Burgundy restaurant. This small but very lively village on the coast of South Africa is visited by many tourists on a yearly basis. The perfect weather, calm water, and view from the sun deck of the restaurant were breathtaking. Dressing the walls of the restaurant was a combination of clocks, faces, and Marilyn Monroe, not forgetting the gold-painted piano.
Welcome to Hermanus, Kenneth, and the Burgundy restaurant.
The old fisherman's harbour is still in place, and more colour in the local shops due to the abundance of flags from the Soccer World Cup. It was a pleasant surprise. Our trip from Hermanus then took my dad and I to 3 of the largest lighthouses on the coast of South Africa, stopping off at the Birkenhead, Pearly Beach and Agulhas. These lighthouses play a very important role for the Cape of Storms. Many ships have run aground on the South African coast, and their history can be found in many of the lighthouses we visited. A must-stop is the lunchroom at the Gullis Lighthouse. From here we headed inland to the town of Montague for our second overnight stop. If you are ever in this very beautiful town, you must spend some time at the Mystic Tin. Homemade beer, good German supper and the friendliest people you have ever met will leave you feeling as if you were home already. It was up early the next morning, and before leaving Montague we stopped at the dockyard for breakfast. Then it was back to the coast with the first stop at Witstrand, where we also had lunch at the Anchorage Beach restaurant and bar. I have never seen so many people fishing in one area before, and whether you had your fish line stuck on a rock or were catching fish, everyone was enjoying the sun. We were on the last leg of the trip, heading to Mossel Bay, where we would meet up with the rest of the family. But our must-stop was the Mossel Bay helicopters. Kobus and Lazelle took my dad and I to see the sharks off the coast, and we were not disappointed. This big boy was swimming just behind the breakwater. So when you are next in the Hartenbos area, look them up over the Christmas period. This is a must do. I would really love to show you all the things we have not spoken about during my solo trip with my dad. We have a very beautiful country and more to see than you can imagine. You just need to make the time and go find it. We were finally home in Mossel Bay. This was an unexpected task, and I must admit, I had more fun putting this whole trip together and spending time with my father than you could imagine. So take the time and go solo, my dad and I.